So, first and foremost, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show. I greatly appreciate it.
Mhm. Of course. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So, where are you located? You don't mind me asking?
And Paul, Idaho.
Okay, okay. Were you like always there? Did you move there?
Nope, I've always been here. Yeah.
Awesome. Is
Yeah,
like
Idaho.
is fitness and like training like a big thing in Idaho?
It's starting to grow. Here where I live, it's growing more, but over in Boise, which is our capital, it's pretty big there now.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's interesting because like I was just talking to somebody fairly recently how like certain like cities will become like epicenters for like training, like, and it would happen like randomly. Like right now, I believe like Texas is like a big, Austin,
Yeah.
Texas, big area for like for a lot of
Mhm.
weightlifters. Even in the wellness divisions, some girls are competing out of there. So,
Mhm.
how did you get into fitness and training anyway?
So I started taking weights, like a weights conditioning class in high school.
Hmm.
But I was doing that more so for soccer. So I played soccer and I just wanted to
Okay.
be better at that. So after I graduated, then I was like, I don't need to be training the way I am now because I was doing more like things like power cleans, hang cleans, like to help
Hmm.
me be explosive. So I'm like, I don't really need to be doing all this stuff. So then I switched to more like a bodybuilding type
Hmm.
training. And that's kind of, yeah.
So did somebody approach you like about like body, or you were like, well, I'm not playing soccer anymore, so but I still want to weightlift. So you were like, well, let me look into this bodybuilding thing, or were you kind of like already in the know a little bit about bodybuilding?
No, so let's see, that was 2017. I graduated 2016. So 2017, we had our first bodybuilding show in Twin Falls, which is about 45 minutes from where I live.
Okay.
Um, and I had some people tell me like, hey, you should do that show. And I was like, I know I can't do a bodybuilding show. Like that's just too much. But I had a friend who had competed in like natural shows.
Hmm.
And she's like, you could do it. And I thought, like training for a bodybuilding competition, you have to do like some crazy style training. And she
Yeah.
was like, no, you're literally already training the way that we do. So
Hmm.
then I did a show in 2018.
What division was that in?
Figure.
Figure. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are you competing now? And
Wellness.
so what made you make that switch from figure to wellness?
So with figure, I needed to put on a lot of size in my upper body to match my lower half.
Hmm.
Um, just I don't have big arms, big shoulders. So I needed to put more size up there. And I remember 2019 when I did my second figure show, I was like, okay, I really need to put on some size in my arms and in my back, to do well in figure. But I remember seeing wellness and I remember thinking like that sucks that we don't have that here because I would love to do that. And then they
Right.
announced that year that they were going to add wellness. So,
So it's perfect timing then.
mhm.
So do you you mentioned you played soccer. I know I played soccer when I was younger as well. And obviously we had girls teams in school and stuff like that. A lot of the girls have like bigger legs in soccer. It just tends to happen. Is that like how like what made you think that wellness was going to be a good choice for you? Have you always had like larger, legs or more muscular is what I really mean. But
Yeah. Yeah. I always have. I did cheerleading too. And I've just always had bigger legs, even when I was little. So,
mhm. So that is like a
yeah.
natural transition to be like to go to wellness.
Yeah. And I think soccer probably did have some, part in that. But that's just my build. It's just how I
Hmm.
was always built.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting how wellness just kind of became and just really took basically like the whole fitness industry by storm. I mean, it was so big in the Hispanic countries, and it was gigantic there. And then once
Yeah.
they announced it here, I heard some people like start kind of like, oh, I don't know about this wellness stuff, and, like made some, derogatory comments about the division and so forth.
Mhm.
And then I mean it just exploded, so even those people had to like step back and and just be like, well, this is obviously here to stay, and really kind of take over because I mean, right now, like all the wellness girls are probably like some of the most popular ones, in the fitness industry. Do you like the way they're developing this division here in the States?
I do. I really like it. I think I like it more here, the look, than
Mhm.
overseas. I love the posing here too. It's a little bit different.
Is anything in particular when you say you love the posing?
Um, I think in particular, for sure, the quarter turns, they
Hmm.
just look more natural here.
Hmm.
Um, but I just think it's more classy, more elegant here in the US.
Hmm.
It's more like
Yeah.
for show over there, you know?
Right. Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. Um, yeah, I mean, definitely posing is like a huge, part of the sport. It's such a big thing because you can have a decent physique, but if you don't, know how to pose, you don't know how to
Hmm.
present it, you can really, drop down in the placings.
Oh yeah.
As far as like you and your posing, do you have somebody helping you with that, or do you kind of, you're doing it on your own?
Yes. So I've had a couple of different posing coaches, two different girls that I work with.
Mhm.
Um, One, she lives pretty close to me, and then the other one's from a different state. But um, yeah, and when I first started, I didn't have anyone, to tell me like this is how it's supposed to be. I just kind of had
Yeah.
to look and see, and it was so new that it was wrong, but now we know better.
Mhm.
So in the beginning, yeah, a lot of it was just me trying to figure out what is it that they want.
Yeah. Yeah. That's part of having like a new division, right? Is that you're still like figuring things out, like what look
Yeah.
are they going to look for? While, we talked
Mhm.
about that it was around for a while. Since it came to the US, they have to kind of set their own standards, to your point that, you like the posing here
Mhm.
better. So it's a little bit different. And so, as the girls are competing, it's like you're in the trenches right at the beginning, so you're basically developing the division as it's kind of like, coming to its own with
Mhm.
Fran winning, and like the placings in the last Olympia, they kind of set like a little bit of a precedence. Like, what did you think about the Olympia? Did you agree, disagree? Did you have somebody else, placing higher than they were, like anything like that?
Um, no, I mean, it was the first one, so we were all just kind of, watching and
Hmm.
waiting to see what happened. But Francielli, I mean, her physique, since she won the Arnold Amateur, I was
Hmm.
like, she's gonna win the Olympia someday because
Yeah.
she just has everything. She looks perfect.
Right.
Her and Issa, those are probably my two favorite. I just really love their flow of the physique, but I
Hmm.
also love how it doesn't look like just a bunch of size. You know what I'm saying? Like it's very flowy,
Right.
looks pretty. The glutes and their back pose just pops.
Hmm.
Um, so they're definitely my favorite. So I was happy to see that they were, top three at the Olympia.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that Arnold that you're talking about, that was the year that was the year was that the year that the COVID hit, or was that before that?
Yeah, it was that year,
It was that year, right?
2020.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was the year. I haven't been to the Arnold in a few years, and I was planning on going to that one. And like the day before, I was supposed to leave. It might have
Hmm.
been actually been that day, and they they announced that there's not going to be an expo.
Yeah.
I was crushed, but
Oh
like you,
yeah, I
go ahead.
bet.
Yeah, like you, I thought when I saw Fran win and Issa, come in second, I thought Fran was for sure a shoe in for the Olympia. I mean, like, who's going to beat this
Yeah.
girl, right? And so,
Hmm.
but since then, in the Olympia, we've had a lot of time, and so you had girls like Yarishna do well, and then you had other girls. So there was a lot of time to kind of dilute from like her winning to the Olympia, and so I
Hmm.
started to think, well, maybe I don't know who's going to win now. Like, I was so sure before, now I'm not sure. So with her
Hmm.
winning, it was like it was kind of solidified. Like, yeah, that's the look that they're
Yeah.
looking for. So.
Yes. Yes. And her physique it's one of those, her legs aren't like overly huge. And I
Mhm.
think that's where a lot of girls are going wrong. They're like, oh, we need, big legs, big legs. But it's like, well, you have to have that proportionate to your glutes. You want your
Right.
glutes to be the standout in wellness. But I think her being at the top right now is a really good example to all of us.
Mhm. Yeah,
Mhm.
you know, to your point about the big legs, I just had I forgot the girl's name, but she's also a wellness athlete, and we were talking about that, about how the you have some, like, wellness is kind of broad right now. I mean, we have Fran winning, so there's set an example, right? But there's
Mhm.
still a lot of girls that are just like, you have the girls that have the flow, and then you have the girls that just have giant legs, and it's like it's all considered wellness, right? Like under that
Right.
umbrella. So
Mhm.
it's kind of strange, right? Because you'll have like somebody who's just putting on that leg mass, but then, like, what differentiates you from like a body, you know, someone who's a bodybuilder who just got like big legs? You know, it's kind of strange in that way, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think the big thing with wellness too is you're right. You know, you have to have the genetics for it. I mean, I think anyone can build that, but when it comes to like your muscle bellies and you know how you hold things, like let's say your waist, for example, you need to have a small waist in almost every division, but especially in wellness, because when
Mhm.
we hit our quarter turns, that's really obvious if you don't have that. um, Versus, you know, other divisions, maybe not so much, but um, yeah, it's been
Yeah.
interesting to see how we're all so different.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Very, very interesting. I'm looking forward to this, you know, this next Olympia, and seeing how, you know, how everything plays out. I mean, definitely
Mhm.
France still is looking, you know, great. So I don't,
Yeah.
you know, it's going to be a close, but it's, you know, it's hard to see her not win it again. But of course, it is a new
Mhm.
division, so you never know, right?
Yeah. Yep. That's true.
Yes. So what about as far as your plans? Are you like prepping? Are you, you know, you've got some shows planned?
So right now, no shows planned.
Mhm.
After I competed in November, we've decided to take this whole year off to build.
Mhm.
So it's just an improvement season this whole year, and then we'll look at shows next year.
Okay. So you say you're taking the whole year to build. Is there anything in particular that you're trying to, you know, improve?
Definitely the glutes. And then just overall in my lower body. I feel like my upper body, I mean, because I was doing figure before, I really hammered that. So
Mhm.
that's pretty developed. I do need more maturity, which I think will just come over time.
Right.
But it's mainly my lower half that I really want to just bring up for the next time I step on stage.
So glutes, like, is there just, you mean like kind of everything, or glutes in particular?
Glutes in particular, definitely though quads, because when you hit that
Mhm.
front pose, you know, you need quads to add that shape in your front,
Right.
as well as in your side poses. Um, Upper glutes, I noticed when I competed last that I really needed to bring up my upper glutes to add that like pop to them.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's a big focus.
Okay.
And yeah.
So how do you train then? Like, what does your training consist of? Are you a heavy lifter? Do you do a lot of volume?
A little bit of both. So I do legs 3 times a week.
Mhm.
One of them is more of like a heavy focus day, more like strength. And the other two are higher volume, but
Mhm.
still pretty heavy, but higher reps.
Got it. Got it. So, yeah. So interesting. What about nutrition? How's, like, in this improvement? It's interesting. I was talking to somebody, and they were like, I don't like it to call it the off like season. I like to call it the
I don't
improvement. You
either.
know.
Yes, I know. I don't either because people, you know, people who don't know, they're like, oh, so you can just chill and, you know,
Right.
be normal, right? To them.
Right.
And it's like, no, you still have to do everything. It's just now you get more food. So now you have more energy to train harder.
Right.
But yeah, as far as food goes, we're just working my food up, getting it higher and
Mhm.
higher.
Yeah. Do you have like a particular amount of calories that you're trying to take in on a daily basis, or, you know, you just do whatever like your body kind of tells you?
So my coach gives me my macros,
Mhm.
and he'll monitor that, you know, weekly and kind of see where we're at. So far, what's been working is like every 2 weeks, at a boost,
Mhm.
carbs, fats.
How's your cardio? Do you stay on cardio in the off season or in the improvement season? My apologies.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still doing cardio. Right now we're at 90 minutes a week. So I do 3 days, 30 minutes. It's nothing crazy.
Yeah.
We did have it down to just once a week, 30 minutes, but we decided to add those other 2 days to kind of help me put food in faster,
Yeah.
staying a little more
It's,
active.
yeah, I mean, nutrition is such a huge part of that, that improvement season process. I do think that, like, to your point about some people considering an off season, I think that even happens in the industry itself. But like some people, and I've noticed it in the men. I don't know how it is like with the girls. You probably know better than I would, but some people just take it way too far. Like their improvements, they're just taking so many calories, and they're taking and just completely just eating whatever, that they gain so much body fat. And then when you're trying to cut, you're just doing all this unnecessary work.
It'll take a while.
Yeah.
And it'll take a while to get there if you added so much.
Right, for sure. Do you have a particular like weight that you monitor your weight at all?
We don't. So I've been 138, pretty steady. I don't know if we have like a certain weight that we're trying to hit or anything like that. The last improvement season, I got up to 149. So I was close to 150. So I don't know if I'll hit that this time. I don't know.
Yeah. So it's nothing. Yeah, it's nothing that you guys are like necessarily focused on. It's just
no.
Yeah. Sometimes people get tricked by like the scale too, right? Like
right.
You'll be heavier and you'll think, oh well, I must be adding like more muscle, right? But that's not necessary.
Right.
It's not necessarily the case.
It'd be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
Oh man. So you said you're doing your improvement for the year, and then you're gonna look in the shows after that. Is there anything in particular that sticks out in your mind? Like I want to do this particular show. Have you thought about it at all?
I don't know. I think the way my coach says, he's like, let your body pick your show date. So that's really, I guess, drilled into my head, where it's like, we're just gonna go with it, and whenever we think we'll be ready, then we'll look at shows and see.
Yeah. I mean, that definitely makes sense. It's like once you're kind of in the condition you need to be in, you can just go from there. Are you the type of person that like to hit several shows at once, like once you're in condition, or are you just focused on like one show and then you'll go into another improvement period?
I don't know. That's a good question. So after I won the overall in November, I didn't want to do more shows. One, because that was the end of the year.
Right.
But my purpose with that show was to see, what do I look like? What do I need to work on for the national level? So I think next time around, I'll have to do, another regional show to requalify probably. And then from then, hopefully, that's always the goal, is to be competitive. So if we are competitive, then, go to a national show and try to go pro. But I don't really, I guess I don't really decide. I don't really think of like, oh, I want to do X amount of shows. I just think like strategically, where am I at,
Yeah, because the ultimate goal for you is just to get that pro card, right? Like, so you want to try to kind of channel your focus into what gets you there fastest. Yeah.
And I think, someone who goes to a national show and let's say they're not as conditioned, and so that's why they didn't win, that would make sense to then do another show later. But if the issue is you don't have enough size, I don't see why do another show. I would go, okay, let's build, because now we're wasting time instead of building.
Right. Because size, like, if it's an issue of like conditioning and peaking and things like that can be changed in a week to week basis, then, you can solve that and go ahead and step on again. But if, like you said, if it's size, that's going to take, maybe another year for that too, depending on how much size you're trying to put on.
Yeah. And I mean, when you go to shows, it's all depending on who's there. Right. So, and the way I see it, it's like, I don't want a pro card. I want to look like a pro. So if I don't look like a pro and I win, that's not meeting my goal,
Yeah. Well, you
So,
also want to hit the ground running, right? Probably as a pro,
mhm.
I would imagine. So sometimes what you'll have is you'll have people. There was a guy at my gym here in Nashville, Tennessee, a few years back, and he won his pro card, but he just wasn't like, he won it in a situation where in an, if it was another lineup or something else, like he
Mhm.
probably would not have won it, but
Right.
because of that, he didn't really do much damage in the pro ranks at all, because it's just he didn't look like a pro. He happened to get the
Mhm.
card, but it was a fluke situation. So yeah, I mean, I get your point of view, because I mean, you don't want to win and then just sit out trying to improve. You want to already be there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's why I say, like as an amateur, I'm not in a hurry, because that's so true. If you turn pro but don't look like one, well, now you got to take all this time off to grow. So
Mhm.
why not just do it in the beginning so that when you get there, you look like a pro and now you can, potentially do well as a pro as well.
Right. And do judges, how can I phrase this? So I know you have a certain like improvement areas that we just talked about that you want to improve. Have judges told you that, or is this just something that you and your coach have come up with?
So the judges told me to just grow overall,
Hmm.
but then I also reached out to his name is Johnny Styles,
Hmm. Yeah,
and he's very
I know
knowledgeable in
him. Yeah.
wellness, and yeah, he told me it's mainly just lower body. Um and I see that too. So it's so hard because of course I respect what the judges say, but wellness is so new that if you've been studying it like where they're studying all the categories and my only focus is wellness.
Hmm.
And when you look at what's winning, you realize like, oh, like your upper body needs to be built, but you don't want it to overpower.
Right.
um so yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, if we were talking about Fran, for obvious reasons. I mean, her upper body isn't weak by any means. So,
No.
and so if you're a girl that's coming into wellness and you think that, oh, I'm just not gonna like have any upper body, that's not gonna win. Probably, I would imagine.
No. No, they
So
definitely want to see shoulders. And the same thing, like they're not judging your back, but you do need to have some width in your back so that when you hit
mhm.
your side poses, you don't just look like it's just lower body. You want that shape.
Right, right. It's complicated, it's like you're sculpting
Hmm.
yourself. And to your point about the judges, I've had conversations before where people, and I'm gonna pose this question to you, how much do you think about how you want to look and what the judges want you to look like? Does that make sense? Because sometimes,
Hmm.
and this is more so, um, the girl that I talked to in particular about this was in the more muscular divisions. And, you know, she was saying that while the judges might be telling me, do this, it's like I have to live in this body. So I want to look the way I want to look if I'm comfortable, but it's not winning. I mean, at least I look the way I want to look. So like how much does
Hmm.
that play, into your mindset? It's like, well, judge says I want to, you need to look like this or you need to grow this, but I kind of, I might like the way I look right here. What do you think about
Yeah.
that?
So I think in that aspect, I got pretty lucky because I really love how wellness competitors look. And I would,
Mhm.
I want to look like that. Like, yeah, so it is true, like you do have to live in your body, so yeah, you want to be comfortable and happy with how you look, um but you also want to be competitive and win, so there's a fine line between that.
Sure.
However, if you are in a division where you actually enjoy how you look, then it's a win-win, and that's kind of where I'm sitting.
Yeah, yeah. So the only caveat to that, and you might, answer that. What are you concerned that at some point um they start trending wellness into like a more muscular look? Because the reason I say that, and it's not showing that way now, especially like we said with Fran winning, but
Mhm.
overall people have tend to have gotten like bigger in all the divisions,
Right.
more muscular. Even the bikini girls are now like from years past are way more muscular, so are you concerned about that at all?
No, I'm not. And I think, you want to bring what the judges want, but you also just need to bring your best. And if they like it, they're going to like it, and if they don't like it, then you can go from there and decide. But I think even if it, because I do agree, they're always evolving, but I think even if they do, I feel like they're just still going to keep that shape, because that's what wellness is known for, is that femininity. So I don't know that they will, lose that, but I guess we'll just have to see.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope not, right?
Yeah.
So are there any other divisions that you're either interested in, like for yourself, which I assume not because you seem so into wellness, but do you pay attention to other divisions at all? Just like, is there any particular, athletes that you like?
Men's bodybuilding.
Oh, so you're into
I
men's
love,
bodybuilding?
the old school bodybuilders. Yeah, that's my favorite.
Okay. So are you talking about like with Chris Bumstead and stuff, or are you talking about like the open guys, like with Ramy?
The open, but I don't keep up too much with like the ones now. But I love the mentality of the older ones, like Dorian Yates, yeah, Ronnie,
Yeah.
Lee Haney,
Right.
them. I think we all could learn so much from them.
Yeah. So I think that's so cool because they're in no way in shape the look that you would want to be or even emulate, right? But their principles and their way of training and their just heart and everything that made them who they are can be applied to any division and any athlete, really. I built a little, when this whole COVID thing started, I built a little gym in my garage, and I'm kind of acquainted with Ronnie Coleman through another person. And so like he has sent me this huge poster with like signed and everything like that. And I have it like right in front in my gym because
cool.
because when I train, I want to I want to mentally like connect with that,
Yeah, when I do legs, that's what I listen to, because it's just a whole different feel.
Yeah, that whole lightweight stuff. I love it. There's so many like quotes, from Ronnie Coleman, but yeah, for sure. Those older bodybuilders are, big inspiration. That's kind of like why, why the sport is where it's at. Are you a fan of, like adding more divisions? Like if they decided to add another female division, like, would you be like pro that, or you think that it's enough, at this point?
I've heard people say that, like when wellness was coming, they're like, oh, not another one. But I just think, like, why not? The more we can add, the more people that can compete, the bigger the industry. Like there's room for everyone. Like that's what's so cool. It's like, when I was competing, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to do well, and because I have to add so much size to my upper body, and so now I don't have to do that. So I think if we could, add something else, or for the men, just to make it bigger and bring the community closer. But I don't see why there's, I don't think that's a negative thing.
Yeah. Like you were saying, I've heard some of the similar things about wellness, but then also about other divisions too. Like within the last several years, a few divisions got started, and wellness is of course being the recent one, but within the last like 5 to 10 years, there's been several. And every time a new one comes in, you hear, the naysayers, and eventually the division takes hold, and then you'll have, it just becomes part of the fold of, the fitness industry. But I like that you said fitness industry, because it's not just competing. There's also companies that that are created based upon these divisions, based upon the sport being bigger. Those companies then hire the athletes, they represent them. So it's like the whole pie is getting bigger, and everybody's getting a bigger slice of that pie. So I agree with you for sure.
Yeah, and bodybuilding is it's a sport where maybe not everyone understands it, and some people don't support it. But I think, let's say, someone who knows me and they know that I compete, then that kind of changes their mindset, like, oh, okay, so that is, that's pretty cool. It's not what I thought it was. So, you know,
Right.
the more people who can do that, I think that's why it's grown so much.
Sure, sure. And you become more, so it's hard for people to connect with, like, let's keep it in the female divisions. It's hard for people, regular people, to connect with like a female bodybuilder, right? And I don't think I'm saying anything that people don't know. You know, it's not a mainstream, you know, look. However, like wellness or like bikini or something like that, or even figure to a certain degree, like
Hmm.
you know, there's women in the regular world that would love to look like that. So I think
Right.
it kind of opens you up to like a bigger audience too, you know?
Hmm. Yeah. And you never know, maybe they'll start, you know, in wellness or figure, and then they'll say like, oh, I actually really like women's physique because I love women's physique
Hmm.
posing. You know, I don't think I could ever do women's physique,
Hmm.
but I think when I first got into it, I was kind of like, oh, that's a little too much, but now I don't see it that way.
Right. Your viewpoint kind of changes. You have a different type of perspective now.
Yeah, and then you learn, I mean, to respect that too, because you
Right.
know that's crazy how they look.
Right. And I think that's the key, right? Like people are so quick to like poke fun, but it's nobody is saying that you have like that you need to want to look like that, or that, you know, you should strive for that. But it's like,
Hmm.
but it's just the respect of the sport and the hard work that the individual, you know, puts in. It's like, I don't want to be a figure skater, but I still respect, you know, the things that they can
What
do,
they
right?
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, so it is a point of respect for sure.
Hmm.
You were talking about how, you know, some people might not understand bodybuilding. As far as like your family is concerned, and we didn't really talk about it, so I don't know if, you know, you have many people that are around you that are family, but what do they think about, you know, this kind of endeavor?
So, yeah, my parents, they don't really understand it.
Hmm.
My mom still thinks I go to the gym to get smaller. And I'm like, no, mom, I'm trying to get bigger. So they don't really understand it, but they support it, you know,
Yeah.
100% for shows, you know, they want to be there. Um, Now they know when I'm, you know, prepping, they're like, okay, she has to eat what she has to eat. Um, yeah, they support it. My siblings, same thing, you know, they don't really
Hmm.
know what I do or why I do, but they support it. They can
So
tell that I enjoy it. So
oh, no, that's great. So so none of your siblings have like followed in your footsteps yet?
no, no, we're all so different. No.
That's funny. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I'm kind of in the same boat, you know, and I think my family's just kind of used to it by now. But it's like, you know,
Yeah.
my mom, my grandma, they don't like their concepts of like why you're training or working out is so different because, you know,
Hmm.
in their time, it wasn't quite like that. Even though we had bodybuilding, even though it was still just like now, really, you know, it was a niche thing, not
Right.
very mainstream. So, but
Hmm.
anyways, what do you think about as far as you know, we're talking about the industry as a whole, you know, social media is such a huge part of that fitness industry now. Like, do you see it as a pro, like the all of all of social media as far as like encompassing fitness, or do you see it as like a negative, a detractor?
You know, I think there's a good and bad to, I guess, everything.
Mhm.
With social media too. I think it's great that, you know, we can promote ourselves and, you know, connect with other people that we never would if we didn't have that. Um, but I do see where there's a negative, you know, you nowadays you don't know what's real. Um,
Mm.
you have to just be, I guess, good at catching on to those things. Like, you know, I can tell who's genuine, who's not, you know, if
Mhm.
someone's authentic or not, but not everyone can. And so that's sad when they're, you know, looking up to this person who that's not really who they are. So,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, you also have like we live in this like strange time where you have a lot more information coming in. So you have a lot more opportunity as a bodybuilder or, you know, a fitness athlete to get information about supplements, about training, about all these things. But then there's more
right.
opportunity for misinformation too. So as you see it a lot with people that are just getting into the industry, it's like they're listening to some of these people that are just not giving them genuine good advice. They're, it's more clickbaitish. And
Right.
so you can really, especially if you're talking about people that are using performance enhancing drugs, it's you can really damage yourself if you listen to the wrong person. So
Right.
like you said, it cuts both ways, right?
Yeah. I mean, the only thing we can do is be who we want others to be, right?
Mhm.
Like if I want people to be genuine and all that, then I need to do that myself. And that's really the only thing we
Right.
can do.
Absolutely.
So,
Well, with that mentality, have you ever thought about like training people or coaching or helping out in that kind of way?
so coaching as far as like for competing and all that,
Well,
I don't,
whatever you
yeah,
desire.
I don't think I could, um, just because I'm so focused on myself, and I don't mean
Mhm.
that in like a selfish way, but I just feel like I care so much about whatever it is that I do that if I was helping others, that would take away from my own. I do love posing, and I work with a couple of girls on their posing.
Mhm.
So that I absolutely love. But as
Yeah.
far as like the training and all that, my boyfriend is a personal trainer, and I
Okay.
see how much effort he puts into it. And I'm just like, yeah, I just don't think that's for me right now. Maybe later on it would be, but
Sure. Sure. Well, no, and yeah, as you said, like, not to be selfish, I think it's actually the opposite, right? Because if you were to take someone on knowing that you really can't devote much time to them, like that would be, selfish. But,
right.
not to take it on is actually probably not selfish, because you're saying, hey, go to somebody who can devote this time to you. But with regard to posing, it's like you're like the fifth or sixth person in a row that I've interviewed that said, I'm not really about coaching right now for sure, but posing, like I've done that and I like that. And so it's like, it seems like posing has really like boomed,
Hmm.
specifically. You have so many people that are just now like starting to just do like posing seminars, posing, coaching for posing. It's really picking up.
Yeah. Well, I think especially, bikini and wellness, your presentation is so important. It's not about your poses, it's about how you're posing and how you make yourself look up there on stage.
Mhm.
So I think now with wellness and it being so popular, people are really starting to realize like you have to have a personality when you're up there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes total sense. Yeah. Well, Vanessa, I really, appreciate your time. I think we did in like close to like 45 minutes and stuff. So I know your time is very valuable. But if
Thank
some,
you.
you're most welcome. If somebody wanted to reach out to you, like for either more podcasts or for posing or for anything else, like what would be the best way to do that?
Probably through Instagram. And my name on there is just, it's Wellnessa with two underscores. Because with one underscore was taken and with no underscore it's taken. So I just had to put those two on there so it looks funny, but that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Okay. And guys, I'll go ahead and link everything down below for Vanessa. So, it'd be easy for you to get to it and go ahead and click the like and subscribe if you like this video. But Vanessa, thank you again so much. And you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you for having me. You
Yeah.
too. Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye.
Bye.